What is up, guys? Mike here from the XD Experience. So today I'm going to do a totally different video. Well, not really different, but I'm going to do a Arrow Season 5 review, like how I felt about the season, how I really felt about the finale. It's really going to be a lot more about the finale, and then I'll kind of wrap up the whole season. But I have to say, first off, I'm going to use my Arrow bottle opener here, sent from a good friend, John Robinson. And I'm going to be, I'm drinking a Captain Lawrence Hop Commander IPA. I did a review on this. Guys, if you haven't had this beer, you need to go check it out. It's a solid beer. So I'm going to take a drink of this, and then we're going to talk about some Arrow. All right, guys. So first up with Arrow Season 6 or Season 5 finale. This was probably one of my favorite episodes of all the seasons so far. They really tied a lot up into this episode to make it feel like, okay, so first off, it starts off with Oliver talking about, this is Leon Yu, the island that he's been on for 5 years. So they've said for a while now that at the end of Season 5, the island and his current is going to merge, and we're going to see exactly how he got off the island and all those things. I'm sure if you guys are watching this, you know the story. So I really was looking forward to getting away from the island. I enjoy the flashbacks, but I know there's people out there who are like, oh, enough of the flashbacks. But to me, the flashbacks is what makes Oliver, or Oliver the Green Arrow, I guess you could say. The mistakes that he made as, Oliver Queen, and then putting on the hood to becoming the Green Arrow, he learns, through the mistakes that he made or the things that he learned on Leon Yu. So Leon Yu is a huge part of who he is. So to see now that he's totally putting the past behind him and moving on, and, literally, spoiler alert, this is going to be kind of a spoilery episode. At the end of the episode, Leon Yu blows up. Per se. We see just hundreds and hundreds of bomb charges going off because, the big thing that happens at the end, I'm not going to spoil it all for you, but the big thing that happens at the end, you're just like, okay, we're totally getting away from the island, and that's totally fine with me. I love the island stuff, but I could totally see them wanting to get away from it just for an aspect of or telling their own stories and doing things a little bit differently. So let's get to this episode, because that's really what this video is going to be about. It's going to be about the episode. Oliver goes and asks Slade Wilson, if you guys don't know, Deathstroke. Big fan of him, too, by the way. Here's my autographed picture from Manu Bennett, Deathstroke himself, to Mike Caldwell. So one cool thing that Oliver does is he goes and he gets Slade and he offers him help. And what we find out is that the Mirakuru is all gone out of Slade's system. And he says, it's like one bad dream. I've seen all the horrible things that I did, and I don't like it. You know what I mean? So you're like, okay, I totally can buy it, because in season, I think it was 2, when he knew Slade Wilson on the island before Shadow dies, and he gets hooked into the Mirakuru, that he actually wasn't a bad person. Him and Oliver were like friends, so it's nice to see that come back again. And I'll tell you, Manu Bennett is just fascinating to watch on screen. I love seeing him. Other than the fact he's way shorter than Oliver, so every time you see them standing next to each other, it looks like a kid standing next to him. It's weird, but when they're not standing next to each other, it's perfect. It's fine. That's not a knock. It's just, it looks odd. But Manu Bennett is fantastic as Deathstroke. Joe Manganiello, whatever his name is, who's going to be in the new Batman stuff. I'm not sure if he's going to be in Justice League or if he's going to be in a standalone. There's some up in the air stuff on that. He's got a lot to live up to when it comes to Deathstroke, because I think Manu Bennett really nails that character down really well. He does a fantastic job selling that as Slade Wilson and then as Deathstroke. So what we get is this awesome scene where there's all this dialogue back and forth between Oliver and Slade Wilson, and basically, they're out to save their sons. And it's this really cool twist of fate. And Oliver even says, maybe the reason why I didn't kill you, because Deathstroke or Slade says, I killed your mother, and for that you should have killed me. And the interesting thing is, Oliver turns around and says, maybe I put you here for a reason. And the reason is that today he needs his help. And he goes and he gets him. They make this pact, and it's like, okay, cool. So then we see them leave, and all of a sudden we see Captain Boomerang, who we haven't seen in a while either, but he's on the island. We know that. They're talking and they're having a conversation, but we find out quick that Captain Boomerang double crosses him, and he bounces out basically. he goes on. So basically, okay, let me split up the sides here. We have Team Prometheus and Team Arrow. Arrow's side, you got Arrow's team who are in captivity, but they get out later, and this is like a rough overview, but it's just me talking about what I liked. Okay, so you got Team Arrow, and then you find out we got Nessa Al Ghul, Talia's sister. We have Captain Boomerang, but he double crosses and goes on the Prometheus side. Slade Wilson, Oliver Queen, and then we also have on Prometheus side, you have the Earth. I guess it was. I don't know if it's 2 or what. I didn't think about that. It's Earth, whatever. Black Canary, but it's not our Black Canary. It's the Black Canary, from another Earth. So you have her, Talia Al Ghul, and then you have who else? Captain Boomerang and the League of Assassins. Oh, and on Team Arrow you have Malcolm Merlin too. Can't forget about him because he teased to death. He's not dead. I know he tweeted and said, "Oh, it was great on this run, whatever." But look, come on. Unless you see a body on all these shows, they're not dead. They would not kill a guy who's been around for 5 seasons on an off-camera death. It just doesn't make any sense. So you see all them come together, and at one point you think maybe Slade crossed Oliver, but you find out it's all part of the thing. They knew they were going to do that. They had to do that to get a piece that was going to help them get out of a certain situation. Like I said, I'm not going to spoil. It's kind of like a whoop. But then you get to see Deathstroke just slaying the League of Assassins. And it's some solid stuff. Like, I love seeing Slade Wilson doing exactly that. I mean, he's just a badass character that can just kick some ass. And it's just so cool to see him. I hope going further next year with Arrow or whatever that they really use more of him as Deathstroke. I find that show so much better when he's around it. It just works for me. I love the show, but it just totally works with that character. And the Teen Titans show that's coming out, I don't know if they're gonna because Deathstroke's kids are gonna be in the Teen Titans show, or at least one of them. They were in the Teen Titans. I'm assuming they're gonna be in the show. I would imagine that they would have to have Slade Wilson there at some point if they're gonna recast Slade Wilson or use Manu Bennett. I don't know how that's gonna work out, but we'll see. But okay, so back to this. The team is both teams are kind of clashing, going at it. And then there's some great dialogue with Prometheus and Oliver. They're, talking about fathers. It's just really cool episode. And the flashbacks and the flashback stuff with Konstantin Kovar. And actually in the episode, I don't know if people picked up on it, but they walk past the skeleton in a coat, and you don't know what that is, but that's Konstantin Kovar. That's Dolph Lundgren's character, who we find out later in the episode. Oliver did kill him because of, he had to get off the island, and Konstantin Kovar was there to stop him from getting off the island. It's just some really cool stuff. I love the way that they ended the island stuff. I think we'll probably go back there at some point, but I don't really see us. I'm sure the next year episode 1 will start off on Leon Yu, because we're going to have to see how Team Arrow gets out of that situation. Like I said, spoiler alert. At the end, okay, so I'm skipping ahead. Let me just back up a little bit. I'm getting excited here because I'm a big Green Arrow fan. Let me take a drink. All right. So, refocus. So, what we get here by the middle of the episode is we get some awesome fights, which Arrow to me has been fantastic with. They are great with their fights. I love watching how they do those things. It's really neat to watch the choreography and, all the different fight scenes, all the different people and all the different actors. It's really good stuff. So, after, let's see where we at. So, we get to see this cool scene with the new Black Canary, because Detective Lance says to the one canary, he's like, "Well, do your canary cry, canary?" And he's like, "It's Black Canary." And I thought that was really cool, because we know that's what they were pushing to. We know we needed a new Black Canary. The Laurel character just really wasn't what they worked. I think this was like a workaround. To me, it seems like that. That way they can use her on other shows and still have a Black Canary with the team, which is fine with me, because I like this new girl better as the Black Canary more than I did the girl who played Laurel. So, okay. But we get to see Detective Lance knock her ass out with a big-ass pipe or stick or something. It was pretty damn cool, actually. I thought that was pretty kick-ass. And he says a line like, she says, "You didn't have to do that." And he says, "I had to in more ways than one," or something so similar to that. It was just really cool. Okay, so at this point, this is where the episode gets interesting to me. Like Oliver and the flashbacks, everything's coming together in this like arrowhead, I guess you could say. Like, you got the flashback here and the current time here, and they're running together to meet the tip of that arrow, if that makes any sense. And by the time we get to it, it's really cool because Oliver says, I'm not going to let Chase, who's Prometheus, get off this island. And he goes and he's running after him. He's basically recreating the island scene that we saw in season 1 all over again. And I'm not sure if they used old footage from season 1, but the camera style looked different and the way it was matted or something. It just looked slightly different. I think they reshot all of this, which was great because it felt new and fresh, but it also felt old. It was just a really cool way to see it. So this is where the episode really gets its guts. Chase is on an island or on a boat, and Oliver goes after him, ends up getting on the boat before it can take off, and it's this really cool discussion about fathers. And it's Prometheus telling Oliver, it's funny, this island pretty much is where you learned out who your father is. And this is where your son is going to learn who his father is. Because at this point, spoiler alert, Prometheus had William, who's Oliver's son. We know that from past seasons. We know that he captured him, and that was the reason why, all this stuff was going down. He had to get him back. But Chase wanted him to kill him to prove to everybody else that Oliver was nothing more than a killer, and he enjoyed it. So at the end, he's telling him, you learned who your father was. Now your son learns who his father is, because this is the first time William knows that his father is the Green Arrow. And if you remember way back a couple seasons ago, William was there and Oliver was talking to him, and he had a little Green Arrow action figure in the Flash and stuff. It was pretty cool. So we find out that this is the first time that William knows that his father is the Green Arrow. Now, he's got a dead man switch on him, Prometheus does, and he's like basically saying, if you kill me, I win. Or if your son dies, I win. Like, no matter what, he wins. So then Oliver decides he's going to do this grand feat of heroism. It's this really emotional shit, too, because as Oliver's drawn back with his bow, you see him crying. Maybe I'll put it right here if I can, or somewhere around here. It's this really cool shot, but it only really tells on screen because as he's drawn back on that bow, as a guy who shoots a bow myself, he's drawn back and he's upset, and you see his hand shaking and the arrow shaking, like he's so scared and emotional. Like Stephen Amell does a fantastic job as that character. I love it, and it has so much heart in it. And he does, like, he shoots Prometheus in the leg. Prometheus falls down. There's this great speech. And then eventually Prometheus puts a gun to his head and kills himself. And Oliver turns around, and Leon Yu is just blowing up all around him. And basically we get that point is where this current timeline ends. And then in the flashbacks, he calls his mother. It's like I said, this is all merging. He calls his mother. We get this great scene of Oliver on the boat. At this point, Oliver doesn't know that Sarah's still alive. He doesn't know all this stuff that we've watched 5 seasons of happens. And we get to see this emotional scene with him and his mom, Moira, which was great stuff. I'm telling you, they did an absolute epic. This is one of my favorite episodes of Arrow to date, to the point where it's like a 15-minute video because of it. I love this episode. It had so much depth, so much heart. Really well acted. I love bringing back some of these older characters like Deathstroke and Captain Boomerang and Moira. It's just so much fun seeing them back, and to know that this is where we are. I had to say hats off to CW. They did a fantastic job with this. I'm a big fan of all the shows, Flash, Legends, Supergirl. They're all great shows, but Arrow has a special place in my heart because I'm a big Green Arrow fan. Not really, but... Well, I am a big Green Arrow fan, but not really the emotional. But it was good stuff. And to a point, I was like tearing up a little bit at the end, because once Oliver grabs his son, you realize, holy shit, like this changes everything going in the next year. Oliver don't know who's alive on his team. William is now going to probably be a bigger part in Oliver's life in some way. I don't think he's going to be like anything on the show yet. I think we're just going to see him, but we'll see where that goes. But I just love how this episode really tied everything up for this season. just a fantastic episode. If you guys haven't watched Arrow on CW, you guys need to. It is just a great show. They did a really good job tying a lot of this stuff, tying up a lot of loose ends on this episode for this season as far as past stuff. So they really did a nice job. They tied up, like I said, you got Nessa Al Ghul fighting Talia Al Ghul. You got Deathstroke just taking out leagues of assassin. You got Malcolm Merlin, and all them, Felicity, Captain or Mr. Terrific, just all the people that are using their head. They're all functioning in a unit. They're trying to make things happen, and you think it's going Team Arrow's way, and then poof, twist happens at the end where it still goes Team Arrow's way, but doesn't go Team Arrow's way. We'll see where this goes next year. We don't know where the entire team is. Oliver's sitting on a boat all by himself with just him and his boy, and the rest of Team Arrow is on Leon Yu, so we don't know what's going to happen. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be interested to see what the title is going to be for episode 1 of season 6 Arrow, because it's got to be something. I'm sure it'll start off on Leon Yu, and we'll figure out how we got out of that situation. But until then, guys, I'm really excited about this. I think this is pushing it all in a new direction. And the Flash finale happened the other night, and I may do a video on that, kind of like this video, but on the Flash stuff, because Flash set up all kinds of shit. Flash had, Molecule Man references, the Thinker references, just what's the Future Flash, Mark, I can't remember his last name off the top of my head, but there's a whole storyline that Future Barry was actually using to start thing. It set up Rebirth, so there's all kinds of cool stuff that's going on in the Flash. So maybe I'll do an episode on the Flash, or a video like this on the Flash. It might be kind of fun. So, all right, until next time, guys, this is a long-ass video, so I'm going to get out of here now. But go check out the podcast, xdexperience.com. Go check out Arrow if you guys haven't, and we will see you guys again on the next one. Cheers.